my bet's on DePin as the vertical with the most like immediate potential. And the question is like, why was it Solana of all of the places that this activity happened? If you want someone to try a new piece of technology that has like a barrier to entry, there has to be like a 10x better thing about that experience. I think that's not good enough. I'm Kuleen. I'm part of the team of the Solana Foundation, and I do a bunch of growth stuff. But specifically, I lead our efforts in a few verticals. So I lead our efforts in games, in DePin, in what we call the creator economy, and our nascent efforts in the AI space.
Out of the verticals that you just mentioned, which one do you think has the most growth potential in the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, so I think all of the verticals have a lot of growth potential. I think it's really a question of time horizon, as you mentioned. So if we're talking about the next 12 to 24 months, probably my bet's on DePin as the vertical with the most like immediate potential. And that's because we're seeing a lot of results already. I mean, projects like Helium or HiveMap or Render and some of the up-and-comers like Fuse already have existing businesses, already are serving real customers. And so it's less about imaginary potential and more they have businesses, and now it's a question of how much can they scale them.
What then stands in the way of some of these both established businesses and some of the newcomers when it comes to being respected as established businesses? What's holding DePin companies back within a very short time horizon?
Yeah, it's tough to say, honestly. And so what's holding DePin companies back? My best guess is there's not one singular thing. I think that the reality is this is an industry that is a few years old, and there's just a ton to figure out. And so I think what just needs to happen is like there are some really talented teams now. They just need a little bit of time to figure out how do you marry the DePin playbook that they have, the token, that community, with the existing business and the challenges it has, and try to bring sort of the best of both worlds. And I think we just need a little bit of time to figure out how to do that balancing act.
And where are we today, and what brings you here to this specific event in Singapore?
Yeah, so we're here today at the sort of a mini DePin Founder Summit here in Singapore. But the reason I'm here more broadly is because, with Breakpoint happening and Token happening, a lot of the crypto world's here in Singapore this week. The DePin world in particular, and I spend so much of my time working with these people over Zoom. It's just a really wonderful thing to also get to hang out with them in person. And it's not only fun, but it's also, you can make certain decisions about the future much more quickly and agree to do things together in a way that you just can't do virtually.
What do you think about the format here today? It's mainly pitches. I heard one of the attendees say, I like this because there's no VCs and no bullshit. It's sort of straight to the point, quick fire pitches. Do you think it fits with the sort of growth trajectory of DePin, and do you think we'll see more of these events?
My guess is that we'll probably see more. Like, if you believe that DePin is going to grow, which I do, I think we're going to see a lot more people trying to apply the DePin approach to different problems, and they're going to need a way to showcase what they're doing to the world. And this kind of format of like, hey, you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, like tell us what you're actually doing, I think fits a lot, especially with DePin, where there's a very clear answer to the question of like, what is the point of this protocol? And so from that perspective, like this kind of format makes a ton of sense.
Are you excited to hear any specific pitch, or are you more here to just sort of get the general sense of what people are discussing and how people are mingling?
Yeah, it's more the latter. So in terms of like what I'm trying to get out of this in particular, because I've had the sort of good fortune of working with almost all the teams here before, the products aren't totally new to me, but I have not met all the founders in person before, and I haven't used all of the applications yet either. So for example, right before this, I was driving one of the Protobus robots in China. That's something I'd only seen videos of and never got to do it in person, and that was awesome. And so there's like a sort of real engagement component to it here.
I'm curious, because I haven't really done much of a deep dive on the different DePin projects when it comes to the intersection of robotics and AI and sort of human interaction and DePin, but are there other projects that are building using, or let's say leveraging robotics, or is Protobots one of the few?
Protobots is definitely one of the few. especially for the specific use case that they have, which is providing training data for machine learning models for the use case of robotics. If you broaden that to, are there people doing stuff with robots and using DePin? The answer is definitely yes. There's actually a lot of drone-related activity that we're now seeing, whether it's like sensors for drone safety or people building drone networks of various kinds, using token economies. That we're seeing a bunch of, but nothing quite like Photobots.
Do you think we'll see more projects emerging at the intersection of DePin, robotics, training, etc., or have we kind of got to a point where it's like Photobots is probably leading the way because it's fun, it's engaging, and maybe people are going to focus more on the drone side of life?
Good question. I think we'll see, Photobots is definitely leading the way. I suspect we'll see more because my understanding is, and I'm not an expert, but just from what I can gather, it's really difficult to get the kind of data you need to train robotics machine learning models. Because, this is stuff that maybe people don't think about or is not obvious. Like, training a robot arm seems simple to like pick up a cup and place it from one place to the other, but the amount of data that you need to actually calibrate how much grip you need, like how hard should you grip the cup as you're moving it, how quickly do you let it go, and how quickly do you grip it back. Those things are just like not trivial, and actually a ton of data goes into that. And it's not clear that there's any way to do it other than like having humans show what those movements should be like. So I would expect to see more.
I want to zoom out for a very brief moment and think about the Solana ecosystem as a whole. Undeniably, we went through a pretty difficult time, 2023, late 2022. But now if you look at Solana, it's clearly a leader in many of the key metrics that we measure layer ones by. Yet there seems to be a bit of a debate as to whether or not we've got to that sort of undeniable, legitimate layer one status, or if it's just Ethereum and Bitcoin leading the way and Solana sort of still waiting for a breakthrough moment. Curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, is Solana sort of in the realm of legitimate L1s, or are we waiting for a breakthrough moment? I'm gonna sort of strongly take the stance that it is one of the few. Like, I think really in crypto today, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana are in a realm or class of their own. Yeah, sure, some people have debate around this and like aren't willing to accept Solana's place in that. And I think part of that is that old habits die hard. And so for some people, it just takes a little bit of time to accept these things.
It's a fair argument that people have when they say, oh, Solana's doomed to be a meme casino. It's purely for degen, speculative activities. Yeah. It's, pump.fun, celebrity tokens, political sort of gambling, etc.
Yeah.
Or would you take the other side of the argument and say, no, look at DePin, look at all these real applications that are being built to solve real problems?
There's two things I'll say about this. One is that, people like to bucket things and keep it simple, but these things are not mutually exclusive. There's no reason Solana can't do all of these things. And in fact, this is not a hypothetical thing. It already is doing all of those things. You already have a ton of DePin stuff. You have a ton of gaming stuff. You have a ton of memecoin stuff, all happening simultaneously today, right? So it's already the case that Solana is not just a memecoin casino. That's been the popular narrative. So that's one thing. The other thing I would say is that, especially when we talk about meme coins, I think people actually miss the plot a little bit, because the thing that's interesting is not the meme coin themselves. The question is like, why was it Solana of all of the places that this activity happened? So what are those factors? Things like really good UX. So the fact that when you click the button in a Solana wall like Phantom or Solflare, the action just happens, right? It's just like this. It feels great. It feels like using the internet, or like the way using the internet should feel. And that's the reason why, or one of the reasons why, meme coins on Solana have taken off, is because like it's a very consumer-oriented experience and it feels like that. Solana is always just like consistently ridiculously cheap. And so that also helps getting things going. It's very easy to mint tokens, cheap to do so. The financial and DeFi infrastructure on Solana is like best in class. Like, all of these things are the reasons that meme coins took hold on Solana. And those are factors that are just like very powerful and useful across types of applications. Meme coin just happens to be the first one because I think there's a cultural fit as well. But anyways, I tend to think that people look at meme coins on Solana without asking the next layer question of like, wait, why did that happen? And I think why it happened should make you very excited.
On that, Which of the verticals that we mentioned do you think is going to be the largest growth catalyst for Solana?
This one's super hard to say. If there's one thing I've learned in crypto is you never say never. And making predictions like this has a way of making you look like an idiot. But if I'm sort of forced to figure out where is growth going to come from, I think DePin and AI are probably the two. DePin in the near term and AI in the long term, or maybe it'll just be DePin all the way through. We don't really know. That's my short answer. I think there's some chance that like a game in crypto blows up, and we've seen these like breakthrough games can just do crazy stuff. So StepFinance in its heyday was just like sort of meme coins today, like a very dominant driver of financial activity on the chain. So anyways, that's a little bit of a non-answer. It could be anything. I think if I had to sort of stack rank, it's probably like, at least of the things that I spend time on. DePin, then AI, then maybe games.
Are there any specific types of games that you think can bring more financial activity onto the chain? Or do you think we should maybe think of gaming as just a fun way to attract people and then onboard them into the ecosystem, and then maybe the financial activity is going to be happening elsewhere?
First of all, I think games should be sort of a means unto themselves. I don't really buy this idea that games will onboard people and then they'll go do other stuff in crypto. Like, fundamentally, there has to be a really good reason why the person is engaging with a crypto element of a game, and that should be self-sufficient. And ideally, they go do other stuff as well, but like, I don't expect that necessarily. Though interesting, actually, if you look historically, that has been true. Like things like StepFinance do end up having those people do other stuff on chain. But in terms of broadly speaking types of games that I think will resonate, it's actually easier for me to answer the question by telling you what I think probably isn't going to work. So what I think probably isn't going to work in games is taking sort of existing games and gameplay loops that are tried and tested, like battle royale or MOBAs or shooters, and then sticking a token and having some of those assets as NFTs. Maybe the skins of the weapons are NFTs, like stuff like that. I think that's not good enough. I think that there's a great rule of thumb. If you want someone to try a new piece of technology that has like a barrier to entry, there has to be like a 10x better thing about that experience. I don't think the 10x better thing is ownership. I think ownership is nice, it's not good enough. What the 10x better thing is for Web3 games, I think is TBD. If you look at the games that have succeeded in the past, the 10x better thing was they made you money, whether that was Axie or StepFinance. The problem is you made money for the wrong reasons. You made money because of speculation, because those tokens getting paid out of treasury. I think the question for Web3 games is, at least one of the paths to success is, can some of the people in this economy make money because other players are paying them, not because treasury tokens are being emitted.
Right, and I guess that sort of creates a bit of a negative flywheel where early adopters are making money by making sure that there's exit liquidity in the form of newcomers.
Exactly.
And that's not always a sustainable, I think, incentive mechanism, right?
Yeah, so, right, a lot of these games end up being like, there's a very PvP dynamic where I want other people to buy the tokens so that I can sell once they've bought. And then that inherently is like a combative state. Instead, you want people to want others to join this game's ecosystem so you can engage with them and you can have like commerce back and forth. And so that's, I think, the dream for a crypto game, is to have that kind of fluid, balanced economy.
Do you think it's possible?
Absolutely, yeah. Now, exactly what that economy looks like, I don't know, but it's certainly possible that you can have a game economy that has people paying in for fun, not for speculation.
All right, we're going to do a very quick fire round of questions. Two of these are about the discussions that are happening on stage at Breakpoint, and the last one is my favorite question. Okay, so First of all, meme coins, net negative for Solana or net positive?
Net positive.
Do you have any strong feelings about that? Or do you just think net positive and let's see it play out?
Like to decompose it a little bit, like I think one of the arguments for it being a net negative is that like there's a brand association issue where now people have a mental association with Solana with meme coins. Yeah, arguably that's not great, but I think the solution to that is not that we should like segregate or diminish meme coin activity. It's that we should have other awesome stuff as well that gets as much attention or more attention. And I think that's going to happen. And so I think like it's totally fine. The other thing is I think there's an implicit view in crypto among some people that speculation is bad. And like I think the reality is that speculation is a human drive, and people all over the world gamble. And this is just like the new age version of it. It's like the browser native, internet native, sort of salient to the digital culture version of gambling and that speculative habit. That's fine. Some people do, go to the casino and pull slot machines. Some people sports bet, and some people punt tokens on pump.fun. Pick your poison. That's
there
fun.
You go. Yeah, it's probably just as degen as betting on horses or dogs, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, second question. Another discussion that's happening at Breakpoint is whether or not Ethereum or Solana is more future-proof.
Solana is definitely more future-proof. I don't think it's particularly close. One thing, so I've been part of the Solana team for approaching 3.5 years now.
So definitely not biased.
Definitely not biased. But when I first joined, actually, I thought that Solana has a technology advantage now in the way it's designed, but probably that won't last because like all this code's open source, like people can copy this. And what's really struck me is that actually wasn't true. That today, Solana still has a huge advantage when it comes to the performance of the chain and the way it's designed. Arguably, that advantage is growing, and that is something that just baffles me a little bit. I think there's a bunch of reasons why that's happening. Because of that experience, I'm like extremely excited about how future-proof Solana is because it's super performant today, and with things like Firedancer coming online, it's also going to be much more consistent and meaningfully centralized. And so like I think on every lever, Solana is more future-proof. Yeah.
Clear. My favorite question of all, can you give us some alpha?
Let me think. What alpha would I give people? Okay, here's one that I think is a little bit counter culture and hard to action on, but I think that NFTs will come back. And here's the reason why. NFTs ultimately are status games that people play about owning cool, unique, expensive things. And that is something that people will always want to play that status game. I think what's happened now is that a lot of the people and the capital that was previously playing the NFT status game has moved on to punting coins on pump.fun. That's fine. But in the same way that like certain types of fashion just over time become less cool, I think certain behaviors in crypto also have that same property. And so I expect that like at some point, some people will just get bored of meme coins, and that action and that attention will shift back to some form of NFT speculation. Maybe it's not exactly PFPs as they used to be, but it'll come back.
Clear. Thank you very, very much for making time to talk to us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. This was fun.
Thank you.